You're listening to Faithless Brewing, a Magic the Gathering podcast for the Spike Rogues. Each week, we design new decks for tournament play, and then we put our creations to the test so we can share our findings on the air. What worked, what didn't, and what can be improved for the following weeks. On today's episode, Morde is joined by SCG Baltimore champion Lantz as they discuss the tournament she won alongside the State of Modern and Pioneer with the last cards from Dominaria United. Will the new spoilers live to the hype? Let's hope you enjoy the show and have a nice night. Hello and welcome to Faithless Brewing. Tonight, I am joined by one of our beautiful members of our Patreon, Cameron, who just got a great result in an RCQ we talked about a few days ago. She's gonna join us, we're gonna talk about the State of Modern, slightly about the State of Pioneer, deck choices, and the specifics of her tournament, and a little bit about the last spoilers from Dominaria we were missing. A few beautiful cards missed our last chat on Friday, but I'm glad to say we had most of them. So, Cameron, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well tonight, Emmy. I'm excited to be talking to you.
I'm super glad. Yeah. The other day I was realized when I was talking to you, I don't know the voices of the majority of the Patreons, so it's like, it's a bit shocking knowing that you just hear to me and I don't know how you people sound. So it's like, it's unexpected.
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah, it's a very one-sided conversation. When I'm listening.
Exactly. That's something that just happens, but it will happen, but we're super glad to have you here. Sadly, Dan has a lot of on his bowl. Damon and David have life of their own that they have to take into account, so the youngest and most free of us had to take the torch for this one, and I'm super glad to have you here.
Man, those are some big shoes to fill. I don't know about this. Those are some good casts.
You 100% got this. Besides, you're a better player than all of us, don't worry about that, so...
Oh, man.
You only have to fill in the podcast shoes. The player ones are quite easy. Sweet. So, tell us a bit about you, Cameron, about your Magic career, about you, whatever you want to tell us.
Sure, yeah. So, I started playing Magic. My first event was a Khans of Tarkir pre-release, and I was quickly just entrenched. It became my favorite thing to do. Standard wasn't necessarily my favorite thing. I was playing because that was definitely the competitive thing to be doing at the time, but Modern was pretty new. Treasure Cruise had just been banned. I think the Birthing Pod was banned at the same time, and I got in. I loved the Delve mechanic on Tasigur, and that was I think I was playing Tasigur in Grixis Twin before a lot of people were doing that, and that was where I learned competition, and I just haven't been able to get away ever since.
You got sucked in immediately?
Exactly.
So what was your favorite deck? If you had to say, this is the deck that better defined me, this is what I love.
So, for a really long time, that was just value mid-range decks. I just played Jund, after, around the time of Fatal Push's printing, and, after Twin was banned.
Okay.
Jund was my deck, and I was really into, just, getting the most out of my cards, but the more time goes on, the more, I'm attacking, and, just trying to beat my opponent down. I love Humans and Pioneer, and just, in general, I was really into that deck. When Humans came to its, big point in Modern, and, mid-range into aggro decks, probably.
Alright, perfect. So you would say, regular old Boomer Shan would be, down to your area of things you love.
Yeah, I was actually playing the deck before we ever got Bloodbraid Elf, so... I at one point could recite. I had a 4 in Huntmaster of the Fells, and I could recite all of the text on all of the Huntmaster of the Fells to my opponent.
That's just part of you. Do you know? I remember that experience with Neve. You know how tough was explaining the original Neve trigger on paper? People refuse to understand the original Neve trigger.
It's a fun one though.
It was a beautiful card when it saw play. So. Before we get straight into your last results, let's just get a few tiny seconds into one of the last Dominaria spoiler cards that got leaked during the past few days. Every set, they just spoil cards individually till they get to the end, and they spoil a bunch of commons and uncommons that got lost in the sauce. And as David said last time, once in a lifetime, they get stuff like Deathrise Shaman with a bulk. So I hope we get to see something beautiful in here and not just random bulk. So I went ahead.
Cool ones.
Yeah, exactly. So I went ahead and pushed the good ones and tried to bring them here so we could discuss them slightly if you don't mind. Alright, so first we have the Cruelty of Gix, a 5-mana enchantment saga with one of the beautiful mechanics they added this set, which is Read Ahead, which I think is actually huge in this specific card. The first step is a target opponent reveals their hand, you discard a creature or planeswalker. Second step is exactly Grim Tutor. You tutor a card, you lose 3 life, you put it into your hand. And third step is Reanimation. Put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield. What do you think about this? Do you think we'll see some play?
I think so. We're definitely starving for some good reanimation cards, just like in Pioneer in general. I think there's some good targets to reanimate, good ways to fill your graveyard, and just like Blood for Bones is the only good reanimation spell at this point, and it's got some hoops to jump through. So seeing one, even though it's 5 mana, it's got all of this extra stuff to do on it, like you said, and it's just about whether the home's there.
Yeah, I love in this specific card, Read Ahead is amazing. Because the first step is bound to be terrible a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to just skip down right that step, get into the second one, get a tutor, or when tempo is really important, is just 5 mana reanimate, is what makes me at least interested in Pioneer, of course. Like I don't think this is even in competition for Modern unless you are thinking about Cabal Coffers.
I agree, absolutely.
Below that, we have Flowstone Infusion, which is literally just Immolate, which was a card Daniel's River Lab, the +2/-2 aura in mono red transform into an instant. And that's just there because Dan labbed the card and they made an instant, so let's hope it sees some play eventually.
I am pretty excited about this card, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah,
Why is that?
So, when you need it to be a shock and remove a creature, it's a shock. Then it just also... And maybe I'm just a little high on Dreadhorde Arcanist synergies, but...
Okay, I can see where this is going.
Yeah, like, it really fills that role so well. You really want extra 1-mana removal spells for your Dreadhorde Arcanist deck, and then it also just allows you to, once you've taken control of the battlefield and you're attacking with your Dreadhorde Arcanist, you target it and flashback your K-Command, and really going off with your value then, so...
Yeah, okay, I didn't consider it in that aspect, and it's true, it's pretty big there. And if you can ever get this sort of Arcanist hit for 5 and destroy an opponent's creature with even the same spell, or well, if you can get to cast a 3-drop, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, okay. Okay, I can see that synergy going. Who doesn't love Dreadhorde Arcanist?
Exactly.
Ban in Legacy. Ban in Legacy, unplayable in Modern, is just something beautiful to see.
Hey, my semi-finals opponent played Dreadhorde Arcanist against me and it quickly got Searing Blazed. So.
That's exactly why he lost in the semifinals. Imagine if he played a playable choose drop. Poor Dreadhorde. Next to that we have the Floriferous Vine Wall, which is a card that I added only because it interests me. It's a 2-mana plant wall, 1 and a green for an 0-2 defender. When it enters the battlefield, look at top 6 and you may reveal a land and put it into your hand. I just find it softly interesting how deep this digs for Lotus Field. Nothing else. Or in decks that really need a specific land, that Lotus Field is the first thing that popped to mind. There's not many effects that look like that deep. This is deeper than Ancient Stirrings.
Huh. I did not look at it like that. I was really going to say that this is definitely an Emmy card, a creature that ETBs, gets something, we can blink it later.
It's definitely an Emmy card, but I cannot justify it in Modern because it doesn't block Ragavan. So if this was a No 3, I would start with a long rant about justification about how this is a 2-for-1 that blocks Ragavan and this is better Wall of Omens, and I will go with a bold claim such as saying this is the future of Wall of Blossoms. Sadly, it's a No 2 and it dies to Unholy Hit without Delirium and Ragavan, so I can't defend it. So this is more likely to see playing something like Amulet or Lotus Blue or Lotus Field than it is on an Emmy deck. Because of that missing points of toughness. Anything that blocks Ragavan, like Arboreal Grazer, immediately gets a bump up in my book. But looking at 6 for a specific land, I know some of the beautiful Amulet Titan players we have floating around Twitter like Fran or Pan, it's gonna play this in Amulet and just meme with this and Ephemerate someday. I can see it happening.
I like it.
Below that, we have a card that I actually think will see non-meme play. And because if it doesn't see it, I'm gonna make it see it. So, Shadow Prophecy. 2 and a black for an instant with Domain. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is a number of basic land types. Put 2 of them into your hand, rest in the graveyard, lose 2 life. What do you think about this?
I agree that I'm excited. It's got instant in the type line, and we're getting very close to just, like, dig through time numbers. It's 1 mana off a fully delved dig through time, and you're only looking 2 less cards deep if you've jumped through the domain hoop, so I think this card looks great.
So getting Domain 4 is something we know in Modern is really easy. Domain 5 tends to be slightly more sketchy on the first 3 turns of the game, but Domain 4 we all know by turn 3 is like a given.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually 3 mana Memory Deluge at that point, which is shockingly good. And you can even pump it up more. And they also go to the graveyard, which is an upgrade over Deluge.
Oh my gosh.
It's straight upgrades.
Yeah. I don't think my brain even read that. Like, I'm so used to these cards just being randomized and put to the bottom. Like, wow. That's really cool. That I can put extra graveyard synergies in my deck.
After Factor Fiction, they just went down the route of making it everything just go to the bottom. But I don't know, like, I'm just miming around with the deck list. Like, I'm gonna play a league right after we finish, and if I get a 4-1, I'm playing it in the challenge tomorrow, which is like a Yorion Esper Reanimator, where this is just amazing, because I have Memory Deluge in that deck, and this is, like, so much freaking better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's a common for some reason, which is interesting, because this is not common power level.
Agreed.
Below that, we have a card with a beautiful art, which is Shore Up, which reminds me of the Crab Rave. 1 mana blue instant, target creature gets +1/+1, hexproof, and it untaps. That's a lot of text.
That's for sure. It's got some competition in its spot. I'm not sure. I've seen a lot of mono blue spirits be played, and Slip Out the Back has been extremely impressive since, like, Streets of New Capenna.
Sadly for this card, I think you cannot beat Slip Out the Back.
Yeah, exactly.
Slip Out the Back is too good, it keeps your enchantments where they are. Mm-hmm. It also has, like, these weird synergies with Kroxa and such, where it's just busted.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see them sitting in a card. I just think this card is cute and something at least worth having into consideration when you get Merfolked out of blue.
Agreed. And it'll stay in standard when the Slip Out the Back rotates.
Yeah, and this also works quite well in standard with the new Curious Obsession for legendaries.
Agreed.
So they likely go in the same mono blue tempo, reminiscing of the days.
Mm-hmm.
When Otto Burchett won with exactly that deck against Radio. And finally, the last card, which I think is not good, but someone will try to convince me otherwise, because someone will shortly, I know it. If it's not Anthony, it's going to be someone in the Discord, and if it's not someone in the Discord, it's gonna be any streamer friend of mine trying to play Karth the Lion. So we have Ursa Assembles the Titans, 5 mana saga, 3 and double white with Rita Hair. First step, scry 4, then reveal the top card. If a Planeswalker is revealed, put it into your hand. So it's scry 4 and reveal the top card of your library. So you get to look up to 5 cards for a Planeswalker. So I did the numbers to have an 85% success chance of hitting, which is not that high, you need like 20 Planeswalkers, so unless it's a card deck that's out of the way, because that's the only deck that can afford 20 Planeswalkers.
Mm-hmm.
Second step, you may put a Planeswalker card with mana value 6 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is where it might be slightly interesting as a way to ramp out a 6 mana walker, like allowing you to play like an Elspeth, the real Elspeth, the 6 mana Elspeth, best Elspeth, or 6 mana Chandra immediately into play for 1 cheaper mana. And I think what needs to be the best part about this card in order to be playable is you have to have enough Planeswalkers to justify the third step. You may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalker you control twice rather than once. So you really need your Planeswalkers to be amazing, or have multiple Planeswalkers in order for this card to be worth 5 mana. Or the piece of cardboard it's written on.
Yeah, so my mind immediately goes to something like a Fires of Dimension deck.
Okay.
Where I just want to, not only does the second chapter, like, cheat, you get to, essentially cast 3 spells on your, like, fire, with your fires in play, and then still have your mana. But just need to really be playing into the whole I'm the bigger deck with all the value. Maybe you're even a Urian deck, and that also helps you get like your numbers of planeswalkers a little bit closer. But
Okay.
yeah, that's where my mind goes. But I agree that I think it's tough for 5-mana enchantment that doesn't immediately impact the board to see lots of play. However, the read ahead mechanic is like, if you've already found the, your big 6-mana walker that you want to put in play, you're just kind of accelerating it a turn.
Yeah, exactly. So this card reminds me sort of like in how it works to the 2-mana blue saga. The one where you get to play a free spell, when you put it into play, then you mill 4 and then you get a Snapcaster effect. In that it works in a similar way. If you start with the step 2, they both pay for themselves in that effect. However, you're not getting any value out of that unless you consider the third step a card on its own. A card of its own volition. Because that's the only way the cardboard has to have value, right? Because I can play this and put a 5-drop into play, so it was free in regarding to the number of mana, but I lost a card unless the third step is worth an actual card. With something like the Fairy, it is actually worth a card, so that's interesting.
Right. Yeah,
it just cycles itself.
And there are a decent amount of Planeswalker activations that are more or less draw cards, so...
Yeah, I think if you, just imagine just plussing at the Fairy plus minusing a Wandering Emperor, that's a lot more than worth it.
For sure.
So yeah, interesting card. I'm not sure it will see play, but at least it interests me. And with that being said, I think that's what all the cards were missing that are interesting from Dominaria, besides some bulk chuff. So please, Cameron, tell us about your tournament.
Where do I start? It was... We're a week out at this point, and it's still settling in a little bit. Winning a whole 2-day event with 2 friends that I consider very close. It was crazy. But I guess I'll just kind of go through and talk about each seat a little bit. We were leading up to the tournament. My friend Adam and I, we knew that we were kind of sharing the Pioneer and Modern seats, and that our friend Chase was going to be playing Legacy. He really enjoys figuring that format out and has had some great success on our team in the past, so we left him with that. And I kind of wrote about it in my article a little bit, if you check that out on owlcentralgames.com, but I was definitely at a rough spot with my RCQ season and feeling a little lost with Pioneer. They're just tough tournaments around my area. There's so many good players, and you have to actually win one of them to get your qualification, so...
Second place isn't enough.
Exactly, right. And there's so many people, I think, that still make all their good gameplay decisions, and they miss top 8, or like you said, second place isn't enough. There's so many other places under that, too. So, it was getting tough. So, I kind of, motivate a swap with my friend Adam, who looks like he's at a similar place in Modern, and we go from there. At that point, it's pretty clear that we want to be doing something aggressive in pretty much all of our formats, just kind of not giving our opponents time. We've also felt that this was strategic with, in a team setting, instead of securing, 2 out of 3 wins, you actually need to secure, 4 out of 9 wins across your 3 matches, which is drastically different math.
What do you mean? In what regard? Sorry, I lost you in that math.
So if I'm playing a solo tournament and I queue up with Burn, I need to, every time I sit down against my opponent, I need to win 2 of my 3 matches.
Yes.
To get a win. Theoretically, I want to win all of my matches or have the best chance of doing so. Yeah. In a team tournament, when I sit down with my 2 teammates, we need to win 2 of our 3 matches. Yep, so to win 2 of our 3 matches, technically, you only need to win 4 total games. There's, other configurations of that, of course, but, you can have your Pioneer player win 2 games and your Modern player win 2 games, that's a match win. Your Pioneer player and your Legacy player, that's a match win.
Yeah, you can mathematically go 4-4 and put ahead.
Right, exactly. Yes. So just kind of having these more linear strategies that just will be putting our opponents in spots to have specific sets of interaction, at multiple points in the game, I think benefited us a lot. This leads my teammate Adam to kind of, he was playing a black-red cat oven deck. We end up on humans. I really like the mono-white humans deck right now, but he wanted to be casting Collected Company, and...
He was on the 5-color humans rather than the good one.
I think they're they're all reasonable, and he did play Bant. We read a Max McVitie article that he wrote for RIW Hobbies. I just really have always respected what Max has had to say about the deck, and we went from there, kind of made sure we liked the sideboard plan and changed some lands and went, and Adam played so well. I was really impressed with, he probably got about 4 to 6 hours of gameplay with the deck, and then just some other random human strategies on Arena, and he was wonderful all weekend. Yeah, absolutely. And Extraction Specialist was amazing against all of our opponents that were trying to interact in that format. Just,
it's a good 2-for-1, it's undeniable.
Absolutely. So
who was middle seat?
So that was me. I was playing Modern. I played Burn. And following the same logic, I had the choice between Burn and Murktide. I really don't like my 4-color matchup when I'm playing the Murktide deck. It's
no, not at all. It's not ever favored.
Mm-hmm. So really didn't want to be doing that. I think that's why like my semifinals opponent had something like Dreadhorde Arcanist in their deck, so that they could be hoping to be competitive in those longer games.
Okay.
Like I said, that ended up getting Searing Blazed. But the Burn was great. My 4-color matchup was a little bit dicier than I wanted it to be. I ended up 3-4 on the weekend against 4-color, but I only lost one non-4-color match, which was to a 60-card Valakut Omnath deck that just seemed like a terrible matchup. They were like ramping into their Omnath and then playing multiple lands, so...
Even worse.
Right, yeah, we just weren't going to get that one. But I discussed a change where I play an extra land. I think it really benefits you in the 4-color matchup, and I think Burn's in a great spot right now. The Cascade matchups are great. The Murktide matchup's great. You're pretty good at beating up on like the other random chaff that people will show up with in Modern tournaments.
Burn is it's a lot of the time alongside Tron, the format police. If things get too out of control, if people try to play either too greedy as 4-color does, or try to play too combo as Living End does, they just get punished because you are either not interacting correctly with my clock or you're not interacting correctly with my bolts.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, so
it's a great police.
Yeah, so that was wonderful. And my legacy player had I don't know if you would call it a true brew on the weekend, but was the most inventive deck list. He was playing blue-black Reanimator. There was no red mana in his deck. They have the blue mana so that they can go into Show and Tell out of the sideboard and like not really be messing up their mana. And then he also had Bayous for Carpet in his deck. And Carpet of Flowers was amazing all weekend. Just 2 really good Carpet of Flower stories that I want to share. They don't even involve reanimating anything. But in one game, he has 3 carpets in play, goes to his main phase, he makes 9 mana with his opponent's 3 islands, yep. He hard casts Gristlebrand and is still able to pay for his opponent's 2 dazes because of his floating mana and lands that he has in play.
That's not a fair game. That's not how Magic works. You don't hard cast Gristlebrand in 2 days on turn like
he was
5, I'm
demoralizing
guessing.
People.
That has to be like turn 4 or 5. That's super early as well because it's only 9 mana.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then
that's beautiful.
Yeah. The other one was 2 carpets in play, make 4 white mana, pitch cast Grief or an Unmasked, take opponent's Force of Will, use 3 lands and the white mana floating to cast Sarah's Emissary, and name creature, and just like opponent had 0 outs. Won the game from there.
That's insane.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I'm taking from this. Hardcast Gristlebrand via triple Carpet of Flowers. That's clearly the way Legacy was intended to be played.
I guess so, you know?
Tell me about your matchups.
My matchups? Well, like I said, I was 3-4 against the 4-color deck. I think that switching the land for the burn spell and just like consistently hitting land drops is pretty important in that match, and I think I could have been like 4-3 or even 5-2 on the day against them had I had that change. And then other than that, the one loss to the 60-card Omnath deck.
Weird Omnath.
Yes, that I don't think is ever really a winnable matchup for burn. Like, that's you know.
Opponent playing Turbo Omnath.
Yes. Yawgmoth at one point. I beat Living End at one point. Creativity. Oh my gosh. I didn't play Murktide until the semifinals, which I was pretty upset about. That was a matchup that I thought would be a little more popular that I wanted to face on the day.
And what was the finals?
The finals, Ross was playing Blue-Red Breach in the finals, which is a wonderful burn matchup. Eidolon's pretty good. They don't have a glut of interaction for all your cheap stuff. And then post-board, like, Roiling Vortex was amazing all weekend, and then also just shuts off the Breach grinding station.
It destroys that deck. I remember playing that deck because of Shiggy Wiggy. He would just ask me to play it. And like I will play a few rounds, we would figure out the cyber and such, and burn felt unwinnable.
Yeah, you just can't do it. Like, I really don't think you can. I love that deck too. I've played it a lot, and like something that makes me not show up to it at my modern weeklies is that there's always so much burn because it's just like the budget deck that people are buying, and you can't buy a win. You can't do it.
Yeah, just vault your Emery into Eidolon into Concession. It's how it goes.
That's it. Yep.
Besides that, well, first of all, congrats on the 2-day tournament win, because immediately when a tournament gets to 2 days, it just becomes a lot tougher just to even think about it.
Absolutely, and like I said, it was surreal. Like, I haven't gotten to play in a 2-day event yet. It's something I've been chasing for a pretty long time. As we're going through the weekend, there's just like surreal experience after surreal experience, because like we locked day 2, we at 6-0. We hadn't lost a match. We lost our first match after locking day 2. And then we only dropped one match on day 1, so we go into day 2 at 7-1 at the 3rd seeded team. We lose round 1, and then do not drop another match for the rest of the day, and get to draw into 2nd seed, and only have to play 2 of our elimination matches.
Unbelievable.
Right, so like, I don't have really another word for it other than surreal, and I'm so like, I just feel so blessed, you know, to be here, and like everyone is congratulating my whole team, us, the effort that we've put in, and it just feels so good to have it be paid off.
I mean, that's the Magic community tends to be extremely, I don't know the word in English, like supportive of each other rather than competitive.
Absolutely.
And that's like a beautiful aspect of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it leads to this, to hearing people telling us their experience about their first 2-day tournament that they absolutely crushed. And tell me, how do you feel about Morde nowadays? Like, if you had to describe the format. We know format is likely changing a tiny bit, or more than a tiny bit in like 4 days. I think Dominaria United will be live in MTGO by 1st September, and I had to check my calendar because I don't know if August has 31 days. So it's 5 days from now. But before that, how have you been feeling it?
I really enjoy my games of Modern.
Okay.
I'm very specifically my games of Modern. I don't necessarily enjoy thinking about deck building, you know? We brought up that, like, the Murktide, I've played a decent amount of Murktide, and, like, the 4-color matchup is just not really feasible. And it just kind of sets up this very challenging nature of the format where, like, there's clearly this, like, extremely powerful deck, one of the best decks, but also that, like, loses to the more combo-y aspect of the format where, like, Murktide's very good, and then, like, you should be able to build your Murktide deck to be able to beat the combo decks and also, like, have a chance against the other value-oriented mid-range decks, right? But it's just, like, you can't do it. And so it leads to, like, a lot of, I don't know, concessions in deck building that I don't think are enjoyable. But once you get past making those decisions and I'm playing the games of Modern, I love the decisions I'm making. The games I'm actually playing against opponents that really know what their deck is doing, and we, you know, playing around things the whole game, even free spells and things.
So what you're saying, if I could try to extrapolate, is you think the format has been, like, softly cracked, so there's not much to, like, innovate in it, but it's an enjoyable crack. Like, it has been sold in an enjoyable way, as to say. Games are enjoyable, but the study of the format and the inventions of it not so much.
Agreed, yeah, for sure. And maybe to, like, expand on that a little bit more, it's been brought up that, like, Modern has recently become, like, MH2 kind of, like, block constructed, and that's, I definitely feel that way. My burn deck doesn't have any MH2 cards in it, but,
What do you mean? Wait, where is Rolling Vortex from?
Zendikar Rising?
Really?
I think so.
I was sure it was MH.
It's got a lot of text on it, so if it ends up being a Horizon set, I won't be surprised, but...
Zendikar Rising, you're right. Wait, Border has 0 cards from MH?
0. Sometimes they play some Sanctifier Index, but I had Tormod Script in my board.
Yeah, and even then, it's just, like, such a non-relevant card.
Uh-huh.
Well, for some reason, I was 99% sure Rolling Border was from Water Horizons. It has so much text.
It does.
Like, the free spells clause feels like a perfect card to come in the same set as Solitude and Fury and such.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense. But yeah, seems like you are playing anti-Water Horizons Shoot Rival.
So, about MH2 and, like, being block constructed, the format at this point can feel manufactured. Like, the deck building and kind of like, here's your value-oriented mid-range deck, here's what you're playing. If you like that, that's
you can have it.
Right, yeah. And then you have your spells aggro deck burn, you have your combo decks, you even have your, like, mid-rangey combo deck with, like, Crashing Footfalls, you have your straight mid-range deck with Murktide Regent, and even some of the, like, scam decks that are popping up. But...
Well, Dan Dingo won today's tournament with a 10-0 finish with Track the Scam.
Wow. Is that even 2 weeks in a row? I kind of feel like...
It might be.
Yeah. That's quite impressive. So maybe a couple more options in mid-range than we might have thought, but still very, like, deck building...
Streamline.
Yes, exactly. Streamlining your choices. I've heard the comparison that, like, Pioneer can feel like Modern was about 5 years ago, where we're, like, ships passing in the night, and I don't have a lot of experience with Legacy, but when I look at the Modern format right now, it looks like Legacy might have, like, 4 or 5 years ago, where there are these strategies that you have to make the choices that you make in deck building, but then once you're playing your games, they all do their very powerful things that allow them to have stake in every game that they find themselves in.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think the format is a bit too sold for brewing. Like, you can still get your tier 2 brews, but you're not gonna crack the top. I mean, there have been some innovations. 4-color has went from normal 4-color to, for example, it has gone to Traverse, to Elemental versions, and it jumps around. But you're not gonna find a deck that just shocks you all of a sudden. Creativity made a bit of a resurgence in the past couple of weeks, and it went from a non-existent deck to an actual, like, threat in the format, which I loved. Even if I hate playing against the deck, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Agreed, and the deck's good. The deck has good matchups across the format, and I don't think Burn's a great one. It was I said, one of my wins on the weekend. But yeah, you have good matchups that are spread, and
I have no idea how that matchup is against Morde. I don't know if you have any experience on it. Like, Goblin Mines is super annoying.
Dwarven Mine's very annoying. I have had a lot of success holding up Counterspell. That's usually just, like, a difficult thing for them to deal with, and, like, Murktide's the way that you win, but if they ever put an Archon in play, that's a very difficult card to play through, especially if you don't have the Unholy Heat.
Yeah, and even if you do, it's a 4-for-1. Like, this card draws, sacrifice, and not even included the fact that if you count the life gain as any sort of card advantage, it gets closer to a 5-for-1.
Absolutely.
So, that's insane. Also, yeah, you were right. Young Dingo got second with Rakdos midrange 2 weeks ago. So it was second 2 weeks ago and a win this time via, and I think it was the Magus and with the Blood Moon main decks. Beautiful deck list.
It is. And he plays pretty cards too.
Knight's Whisper. Modern staple Knight's Whisper. Like, everything else about the deck just makes sense, right? 4 Ragavan, Doughty Whitewalker, Croxa, Season, Grief, Fury. The one of Lily of the Veil is because he's a boomer, I won't accept any other explanation. No one below the age of 30 would play Lily of the Veil, because we have learned better. Once you get slapped by Oko enough times when you were young, you never think about Lily. You just get traumatized by the sheer power level. You cannot look below that.
But it's about to be reprinted, Emmy, come on.
It's gonna crack Pioneer! It's gonna see so much play, everybody! Lily's dead and has long been dead, but yeah, in Pioneer it may have a tiny bit of a resurgence. Lightning Bolts, Malakith Rebirth, Spikefield Hazard, Thoughtseize, Undying Malice, one of Knight's Whisper, 3 Terminate, one of Colagan's Command, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Fable. Weird numbers, but can't judge the results. Second into first, into a 3-1 in a preliminary all in the same week, plus a 5-0. It's not something you can argue against. Like, not at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, congrats on Young Dingo. Amazing results. And let me ask you a tiny bit about how have you been feeling about Pioneer as well, because you said that you also have quite a bit of experience on the format.
Yeah, so I love Pioneer. A lot of people I mentioned before, they compared it to Modern from like 4 or 5 years ago, and that's when I learned, really got into the whole format. I just love playing linear decks into other linear decks. I'm not sure, like it's great. At this point, I really like attacking with Adeline. If I was like still trying to get my RCQ invite, that's what I would be doing.
Adeline mono white? Like responsible Adeline or fun Adeline? Like, you have your ways.
I'd be responsible right now because I'd be trying to get the invite. But
now that you have the invite, you can be responsible and try to coco into it.
Exactly. Right. Perfect. And they're even giving me another human that says all my other creatures get +1/+1. Like, I've got to try that out.
Which one?
The King Darien, what's his number? Like the 48th
or something?
Yeah,
3 mana. The one that doesn't it pop. No, the selfless effect is only on tokens.
Yes.
King Darien, the 49?
Sure. No. If that's the number, I believe you.
No, I'm randomly hitting numbers out of my ass. Don't ever take my word for granted unless I'm telling you take it for granted. I spew more random nonsense than coherence.
Okay. Well, I don't care about the token text on that card. I just care that it is making my humans bigger and I am attacking with them.
But you don't have the 3 mana white one that does white. Yeah, but paying for triple white is impossible. Yeah. And this is better, even then. What was the name of that? I'm looking at the spoilers and can't freaking find it. When was it spoiled? It was the first day. It has to be one of the first. Or I'm just a stupid... That name is so easy to see. Why can't I find it? So also about that, talking about Dominaria, any cards you're excited about?
The thing that's popping into my head is I'd really like to set up Joda, the new 5-color Joda, in like a Nivtalite shell. I really love Nivtalite. There's a local player that I'm pretty close with that I think has done some pretty innovative deck building with Nivtalite, and I think the really cool thing that Joda allows you to do is while Joda's in play and you cast your Niv Mizzet, you can set up exactly cascading into either Kalitas or the new Kalitas Saproling card.
Oh, because it okay, I didn't realize when I read it that it hit a legendary.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It only hits the legendary cards.
And you don't play that many 4-drop legendaries. I mean, you have to make 100% sure you're not running Oath of Nissa. Like, I can see that happening, like when people creativity into a Gravedigger's Cage. I can really see someone showing cards and hitting Oath of Nissa. I mean, like, wait, this isn't Kalitas?
That would be a little unfortunate. Gotta make sure that one's not in your deck, but with some attention to your building, you can do exactly, like, just making sure that you have a Kalitas in play all the time, which I think is great. Even Yorion triggers the...
Yeah, Yorion triggers the Yoda.
Gigantha, even. Either one of the companions
and
that you would play.
And Gigantha is playable in the Pioneer version, while Yorion is playing in the Modern one. I have not done enough testing as I would like in Pioneer. Like in Pioneer, I'm mostly just playing weird Orso Yorion builds, and I'm super excited for Enigmatic with Leyline conversions.
Oh yeah.
So I'm super excited for that. And besides Yoda, anything else? Leyline Binding, not Leyline conversions. Anything else you would like to see, like for any decks in particular? Any huge upgrades?
The Lords are all really cool. I brought up being an aggro player. Anytime you can give me to attack with some tribal creatures. Oh, this Red Defiler, I'm hoping it's cool. Ends up being good. The idea that I floated with a couple friends today was just like tons of 1-drops and then like Defiler plus Experimental Frenzy. And then, yeah, you're just trying to like go off and like play all of your things and win in like 1 or 2 turns.
While you're just being literally everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds fun. Yeah, I'm really excited for the white one because when I first started playing Magic, I started with Taxes, and the only time I ever played Standard in my life was during that cycle post-Ixalan, where this was this weird Azorius that was actually mono-white Monument of Oketra deck with Mentor of the Meek, that all it did was crush control. Because you played a million 1/1s at 2/2s that ETB'd you something like draw a card. The deck was incapable of winning, besides being 1/1s and 2/2s, but it played Dusk Till Dawn, like the card with... So you just paid 6 mana in the late game and literally returned your whole graveyard to your hand. And your opponent had to, and you always keep your opponent on their toes with that. So it was a beautiful crappy deck that I'm really happy to replay with the new Defiler. White Defiler seems like something fun for it. White Defiler plus Monument plus Double Core Skyfisher goes semi-infinite.
Ooh.
What else do you need?
Nothing. I'm very surprised that they printed something like the Defiler cycle where you're getting like a universal cost reduction on all of your things. Like, it just seems like such not the magic that they would have printed, but I also like how smart it is that it only applies to once to each of your spells, and it also only applies to permanent spells.
They were pretty smart in realizing that people are gonna ask for something related to Phyrexia and mana once we're getting back to Phyrexia and everything related to it as now. And also making sure they know that's gonna be seen and getting ready to nerf that. Like, making sure that the Phyrexian mana is weak. I'm slightly scared because of Karn's Silex, which means maybe more Phyrexian mana is coming, and that's like a warning because of the part that says you cannot pay life to cast spells. Like that's a threatening. You know, like just threateningly stirring you without doing that, menacingly stirring at you without doing anything. I'm not scared yet. I'm just prepared to be scared.
Agreed.
So hope it's nothing more than that. I'm super excited about Dominaria, actually. Super happy it also comes out in like 4 days.
Me
we were
too.
complaining a few months ago that they made the pre-release release after and before MTGO like for only 2 sets. Like, remember when they changed it for a while?
Yes.
They used to make it so it was like during years it was first in MTGO, then on pre-release during the quarantine. They did the other way around for like 2 sets, and now they're going back to first in Arena and MTGO. Maybe they lost money because less people were paying for the arena drafts. That's the only explanation I can find.
I know I really wanted them to continue releasing them all at the same time. I like getting in on the bottom floor and being able to judge the cards and purchase them maybe before anyone has played with the cards. And when you let them out online, everybody gets to touch them first, and then they affect the prices. And
I mean, it really works for me because pre-releases here are worth a shit ton, so I'm pretty happy that I don't have to play them. I can first test it if I'm gonna enjoy it, because for example I played a new campaign at pre-release, and it was during the pre-release I realized that playing any white deck that wasn't banned was completely terrible, like Esper sucks. And that was mid-round 2 playing Esper. So I just learned that info a tad too late and a tad too expensively for my own liking. So getting a sheer look at first and hearing what people say tends to be quite good. Besides all of that, we're coming with Dominaria, which I'm everybody's super happy about a lot of cards. Great expansion, great set. The other day they were showing pictures of what the original sagas were gonna be. It seems they were designed by Garfield during the previous Dominaria. Like the last visit to Dominaria, when Garfield was working on that set, he made the sketch of what sagas became.
Interesting.
It was like this weird concept that creatures dying or such advance the card, and when it reached a certain amount of steps, it would trigger and sacrifice. Sort of like the enchantments from, I think it's original Sendy card or Innistrad that sacrifice when you get an X amount of counters on them. Like the one that ramps, the one that makes a zombie and such.
It
was like a really similar... Yeah, those ones. It was a really similar concept at first. That just evolved into something else. Finally, we have some deck of the weeks, like some specific decks we choose just to discuss here. And yours is a beautiful, beautiful Pioneer Shank.
Well, thank you. It came... I found it on Twitter.
It's likely by Donkin. This is like a Donkin deck.
I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I just really love this idea from when I saw it. But we're paying 5 mana for Invoke Justice, specifically to put Aurelia the War Leader back in play. And at minimum, with the Invoke, then you're hitting your opponent for 14 damage in the air over your 2 combats, and that's if you don't have anything else in play.
Yeah, so tell people about the deck a tiny bit, because a lot of people are not going to see this beautiful screenshot.
Absolutely. So the early plays all allow you to discard cards, or are some other sort of modality or value beyond that. So there's Voldaren Epicure, Cathartic Pyre, which Cathartic Pyre is 1 in a red for an instant. It can deal 3 damage to a creature. I believe it can also target planeswalkers. Or the other mode is discard up to 2 cards and then draw that many cards. And then Rafine's Informant, the 2/1 that enters the battlefield and connives. The 3 drops are Fiery Tempers, Stormkirk Occultist, which is a beautiful madness card. I'm not sure which set it's from. It's been reprinted so many times. I don't want to embarrass myself. But it's a 3-mana 3/2. It has Madness for 2, just a single red both times. And it has Trample, and then whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, you exile the top card of your library and can cast it until the end of your turn.
Let me check that. I think it does. Like, that rings a bell. It's from Crimson Bow, 3-mana 3/2, Trample. Exactly. You may play that card until end of turn.
Nailed
and Madness 2. So
Nailed
mostly this is like, you're not playing this for its effect, right? You're playing this because it's a good payoff when you're discarding stuff.
Yep. Also functions well with additional combats, if you get to connect twice. And it's a trample body for your counters, too.
Okay, yeah, because you're distributing 4+1/+1 counters when you resolve your Invoke.
Yep.
What's the name of this Invoke? Invoke Justice. So it's Calamity, Prejudice, and Justice? Is there a blue in this cycle? No, right?
The blue one, there is a blue one. It's gain control of something, untap it. I'm not going to remember what the word is, though. The black ones invoke Despair, the green ones invoke the Ancients, and then, like you said, the red one, as the Faithless Brewing listeners know, it's invoke Calamity.
I was looking for Invoke, and there's a card that's... And you have Invoke Prejudice, the card that got deleted from Magic at 4 blues, which is weirdly on cycle. That's all I'm gonna say about that card, because I don't want to talk about that card. But why is it so on cycle with the 4 blue in its cost? Yeah, Invoke the Winds, 4 blue and a colorless. Gain control of target artifact or creature and tap it. I have never even seen this card. Like, I didn't even know it existed. That's how little I care about this one.
It's great and limited.
It's very limited. 5 mana steal a creature. It's great and limited.
Yeah.
Just steal your opponent's bomb.
Yes.
But yeah, this is a beautiful pile. And you also said there's a bit more of a mid-range list than this one. Like, this is more all-in combo.
Right.
No, sorry. This was like the more mid-range, and you have like more combo-y. Like this card into Hollow one.
Right. So there was another iteration that I saw with a Learn package with like Professor of Symbology, Hollow one, like you said. Both of them looked good. I think there were like a few more even aggressive rummaging effects on the pay off your hollow ones, and I think it makes sense that list would be way better at benefiting from the extra combats that you get with War Leader and extra places to put your counters on Justice.
I think what will be really interesting when looking at the deck is understanding how often you win. Like, I would rather play the more mid-range version if I find that when I resolve the War Leader, I'm winning regardless of which version I'm playing, right? Like, if I'm winning with random 3/2s or a Boldarian Epicure, then I would rather play these. However, if I know I need more creatures, then I can consider the other one.
Agreed, I like that.
Also, I love the one of Ugin, because sometimes you don't find Aurelia, so you just reanimate an Ugin with your Invoke Justice and win the game.
The other card that the other iteration had was the Saga Restoration of Iganjo.
The 3-mana one, right? That you use this card and then you get back a 2-drop.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the bare minimum, like, I read that card and it can be a ramp card because it also like gets you a planes off of it, and then it attacks and makes extra 1/1s and
and then so it's a discard outlet that sometimes you get back something like a Raffine's Informant, so that's sweet.
Absolutely.
And then you just get transforms into like a really bad Brimas. Actually, it's like regular Brimas, just doesn't make a 1/1 on blocks. Which is bad Brimas, because Brimas.
Right, but it had a front side, so...
Yeah, exactly. So beautiful Invoke Justice build. I went for something a bit more modern, but also Boros colors, but not because of the decklist itself. So what I chose was a Boros Stoneforge. This is something that has seen some results already, played by Aspiring Spike. The champion into Stoneforge with Ragavans and such. Everybody knows the deck, right? Fervent Champion plus Swords plus Bolt, Solitude, and Esper Sentinel Swords. However, just to show how much dangerous it has been in the format lately, this deck is playing 2 Containment Priest in the main deck.
Wow.
And and it has zeros. Like, it's not that the person is playing this with like Flicker Wisp or such, right? Like, at least it's like a minor synergy that might transform your spells into a removal spell. No, this is just straight up Containment Priest with no upside. Just featuring the R2 of existing. So that made me ponder, is Containment Priest... So, Containment Priest is backed currently on TCO, where For example, let's say you bounce your Containment Priest and you're bored with Yorion. Technically, everything should return because the priest is not there, right?
Okay.
It doesn't. Everything gets exiled.
Huh.
So, I'm pondering, is it bugged with Living End as well? And if it's in the graveyard, nothing returns?
Like maybe MTGO just checks if Containment Priest has ever been in the battlefield at all?
No, I think it checks if it's on the battlefield before. Like, before it enters, it checks if it should be in the battlefield.
Okay.
And because it's entering, it says it is.
I see.
And it stops itself and everything else from entering.
I see.
So I think that's how it works with Yorion. The question is, does it also work with Living End? Because it shouldn't stop Living End, but maybe it does.
MTGO, just a different game going on.
Just a different game. Also, fun fact. Boo and Minsk, alongside the 3-mana enchantment for Legacy, Battering Hex, are entering MTGO according to messages by the MTGO Twitter.
They're officially adding it?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm sorry, I'm not. It's not 100% official. This was a message this was a reply to some complaints by the Magic Twitter. So it's like sort of official. There just wasn't like an official release, right? Like an official
got it.
paper.
We just don't know when exactly or how
they
they're
said next
do
week.
It. Okay.
So Maddening Hex and Minsk and Boo, I think, are the two greatest ones because they're like two cards that should see play. The mono red Prison deck in Legacy has been making a lot of waves. It seems like a tier deck. And for anyone that doesn't know what Maddening Hex does, it's an aura. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, roll a d6, lose life equal to that cost, and then move it to another random opponent, which means the same guy because you're playing 1v1. So every spell they play damages, in average, 3.5 points of damage. Not 3.5, because it's between 1 and 6. I have had this chat a few too many times. And that's a lot. That's like a super idol on an aura.
Yeah, I was really happy that card was not in play in like most of my friends' Legacy games during the team events, but I did really enjoy watching past the Legacy rounds that had it in play and just watching them roll their dice like, oh, I took 5. Yep, couldn't beat that.
I can imagine like playing Storm. You start your turn at 20 life, and all you gotta do is get your Storm 10, and you start rolling. Sort of I don't know if you've ever seen the game with the Fear Visions. No, this is not Fear Visions. What's the Storm card that shows cards from your opponent's hand and damages them equal to the cost?
Ignite Memories?
Ignite Memories, the Nasif game with Ignite Memories. Like a really old top 8 game.
Yeah, where you're rolling to see which card you're flipping?
Yeah, but Nasif is like at 10 with a 6-drop in hand and a 4-drop and survives 7 triggers.
Jeez.
And like just hitting a 1-drop like 6 times. It's an insane game. If you have the chance just to watch it, if you look like that, you're gonna find it. Like just look like Nasif and the name and Ignite Memories and you're gonna find it on YouTube. Awesome. Amazing game.
Awesome.
And also Minsk and Boo. And Minsk is an absurd planeswalker. This is in play in sideboard of Legacy Elf and like a 4-color control build using this as a win con.
Yes, it was one of my Legacy players' only losses on the weekend. Going 12-3, losing in the finals.
Getting crushed by Minsk.
Yep.
Card is insane, but yeah, so expecting next week you will see them with some hope. I'm really hoping for it because beautiful cards, and I really hate when the format doesn't align. Like this is I don't care about the cards themselves, I care about the significance of playable cards not being on MTGO. I have the same problem on Pauper where there's this one card from Legends called Remove Enchantments. I'm not gonna explain what the card does, it has over 9 lines of text. Like, it bounces all auras. If opponent attack with a creature, destroy all their auras, bounce all your enchantments. Too much text. But it isn't on MTGO. And there's like a whole archetype that could exist from it and it just doesn't.
And you think it'd just be so easy to, like, code one card and put it on the game app where we play our game, but evidently...
No, that's this problem. Apparently the MTGO has been so inbred in its programming. I'm gonna tell you something that happened a few years ago before they fixed it. Leylines had no programming on its own, because they didn't have a way to code them, in that the effect got started before the game. So what they did was every single card was coded around having a leyline. So the code of every card had, in addition to its code, if Leyline of Sanctity can go face, if Black Leyline goes to the graveyard, if Blue Leyline it has flash. When your program is so inbred that it leads to stuff like that, maybe adding a single card is not as easy as we think. I know that has been fixed now, that was a lot of years ago, like a decade, but it sort of shows the situation of what happens when you just go for the solution that leads to the fastest way out. And finally, to end the day, I have a slight recap flashback on our Research and Belief monthly project, which is the results from our beautiful, beautiful man, Zach, also known as Mana Symbol, when he got crushed while playing the version of Research and Belief with a lot of omens and seals. We're blaming a tiny bit of it on Zach not remembering how to play the game, and that's gonna be the excuse to protect my deck. Zach, I love you. Don't take it on me. So, round 1 against E-Tron, he went turn 2 spreading Seas, buying himself enough time for a double Bring to Light turn that won him the game immediately. Like Research and Belief with Bring to Light just gets you so much value. Game 2 got crushed by Thornot Seer into Smasher, into like turn 5 kill with a Scavenger Grounds to get rid of his graveyard. However, on the game 3 he won with a mulligan to 6. He managed to survive the double Thornot Seer just to be completely devastated by the Calice, which completely locks him out of the game. Round 2, he wins by opponent conceding after playing a Torment Mine because he had a spelling his opponent hadn't considered. And opponent didn't concede the game, opponent conceded the match. So that was, I think, Zach's only game for this league. Only win. Round 3, he faces Young Moth, gets crushed due to Mana Screw, and game 2, Thoughtseize Turag into the one-off Scavenging Goose in the opening hand. What can you do? Against Living End, he won with a Kiora Beast the Sea Gold Hardcast. So after the long game, he just got an 8-8 Hexproof and stole an opponent's creature to win the game. However, on game 2 and 3, Force of Negation plus Pilot Outburst is bound to doom you into oblivion. Finally, losing round 5 to Mono Blue Tron. Which is just, come on, not Mono Blue Tron. I mean, yeah, it has to be a... I don't see a Bring to Light deck ever beating Mono Blue Tron, especially if you're relying on 0 mana spells, because in addition to having all the cheap counters, they also have Calice. So you're like so screwed.
Yep, and they even have like free interaction, like all of the other modern decks get at this point, like
every single modern deck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So besides that, do you have any ideas for Research and Belief? Any of the deck lists you saw that you like the most?
That is so far away from my type of card.
Okay, I get it. That happens.
I wish if somebody handed me their Resurgent Belief deck, I'd love to take it for a spin, you know? Like, I'd probably pick my favorite from the Discord here, but... Whew.
Yeah, but not only are your expertise to build around.
Absolutely.
Alright, so with that being said, anything you would like to add, Cameron? The stage is yours.
And the stage is mine, man. Well, absolutely shout out to my teammates, Adam Sensenig and Chase Martin. They were wonderful the whole weekend. There's nothing better than winnowing through friends, and we all absolutely kept each other's heads in the game, and there's no way that we would have been winning without each one of us, so...
Also, great strategy having such a fast deck in the middle seat, allowing you to really focus on what your opponents and what your partners are doing during the game. Like, allowing you to give a helping hand when needed, because you're on burn. After minute 6 of the game, you're mostly playing with your teammates.
Right. Yep. Definitely, yeah, it gets to that quickly. I will be casting. I'm excited to be commentating for a 2K that will be going on at my local shop, the shop that I write for, Al Central Games. They'll have a stream up next week on Saturday. They have a Pioneer RCQ going on, and I'll be casting that with some of my teammates. So if you want to see me there, you can check us out. I believe it would just be the Al Central Games Twitch channel. And other than that, my Twitter handle is @sometimesIscry. That's where I'll be.
Exactly. So @sometimesIscry to find her on Twitter. You can find her in our Discord. You can get our Discord as well if you want. For everybody that wants to talk about some burn, some good old matches, you can always share our Patreon, where you will find beautiful people such as Cameron discussing the game.
Absolutely, it's a great place to be.
SCG Baltimore Winners Report. And yeah, thanks so much, Cameron, for joining me. Hope you enjoy being with us. I used to say with us because I never did this on my own. That made a terrible decision, releasing me from the leash. That's all I'm gonna say.
Emmy, you're wonderful. You did a great job. It was so much fun.
Yay!
Yay!
I got released from the basement. Now we're gonna go back. Now I'm gonna go back to the basement and edit. Thanks so much for being. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks a lot. Hope everybody also enjoyed, and hope to see everybody on Friday, where the first of a huge amount of brews are gonna coming up. If I'm not mistaken, by Friday, the set might have released, so I think it releases on Thursday, so we might start to see the first shimmering lights of brews, and by Monday you're going to have full-fledged brews untested, so only 1 week away.
Can't wait.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to know more about our latest brews, you can support us via Patreon. This will not only grant you immediate access to our Discord, where you can find our Faithless Brewers alongside an army of fine-like players, but also allow you to participate in the monthly project as you help us decide which card to brew with each month. Finally, remember to tune in on Friday, as Morde and Dan go deep to Dominaria United and start to brewing with likely the best card of the set, Leyline Binding. Hope you enjoy the show and have a nice night.